Like this.
Just keep your patience.
The start of a new millennium and the start of potentially the most historic World Rally Championship season ever. Changes for 2000 included twice world champion Carlos Sainz joining Colin McRae at Ford. They were together at Subaru in the mid-90s and relations then weren't always cordial.
A lot of people keep writing and saying it's going to be difficult. I have been working with him before. We have one problem in one rally. We speak about that, and everything was clear many years ago, and we have good relationship, and I'm sure we are going to work together hard to make for winning, and well, we will see what's happened after.
The other major change, 1994 world champion Didier Auriol moving to SEAT.
I think with SEAT it's a young team, and they want to really try hard, and they want to really try to get results. So they have need to have an experienced driver to have a situation of the car. So I am quite happy to work with this young team.
But the man they were all trying to catch was Tommi Mäkinen, looking for his 5th consecutive world title. January in Monte Carlo for round 1, the most famous casino in the world and the start of the most famous rally in the world. First off the ramp, wearing the champion's number 1 for the 4th year in a row, the highest flying Finn, Tommi Mäkinen. Subaru's Richard Burns was runner-up in 1999 after winning the last 2 rounds of the season. The Englishman came to Monte Carlo looking for 3 out of 3. Colin McRae was just hopeful of new luck in a new year. He and Ford hadn't won for 6 months. Not much snow up in the Alpes Maritimes above Monte Carlo, but reports of ice higher up the stages. The Monte Carlo rally is never predictable. Whatever the weather, Mäkinen threw down the gauntlet to his challengers.
Woes jää läikkiä. Sitten on jäätä tästä loppuun asti. Jäätä koko ajan
He
oikein.
quickly got to grips with the icy conditions and pulled out a first day lead of 12 seconds over Richard Burns.
Cuatro zas, poco hielo. 40, derecha 2 menos zas.
The first victim of the year and the rally, Skoda's number 2, Luis Clement.
Extintor, la rueda. Ese no es de dentro.
It's very slippery with ice, and in a corner just 0 kilometers per hour, touch a little at the rear, and the bumper go down and the exhaust put fire, and arrive at the end of the stage with fire.
3 times Didier Auriol has won in Monte Carlo. The Frenchman was in the top 10 but not in the Champions League. Unlike his teammate Tony Gardemeister, he was suddenly being touted as the successor to Mäkinen after climbing to 3rd in his SEAT Cordoba. The car has yet to win a rally, but Gardemeister showed that he, rather than team leader Auriol, could be the one to hand the Spanish team their first World Rally victory.
Actually, it's going quite well, but only some mistakes. Like I spun 3 times on this first leg.
Running 4th was Carlos Sainz in his debut for Ford. Just ahead in 3rd was Gilles Panizzi. But Burns was having trouble keeping the British flag flying. On the Selenet stage, 1,000 metres up in the mountains, Mäkinen set a time 14 seconds faster than Burns over just 20 kilometres. By dawn on day 2, £1 million worth of rally cars, including the Subaru of Richard Burns, and all 3 Peugeots were out of the rally. The the freezing temperatures stopping them from starting.
The car wouldn't start. Simple as that. It's been -10 overnight in Gap and it wouldn't start this morning. We pushed it out of Parc Fermé and tried to get it started going down a hill, jump start and bump start it, but it wouldn't go.
In one foul swoop, Mäkinen was left with an almost unassailable lead. The driver closest to him, Carlos Sainz, 1.5 minutes behind. This was only Sainz's 11th day driving a Focus. 9 of those were in testing. Gardemeister hung on to third in the Seat. But closing fast was Britain's Colin McRae, who overcame a day and a half of niggling technical problems to set fastest time on the second to last stage.
Right tightens cat, 50, 6 right minus opens, into 6 left and 6 right opens.
And McRae took fourth from Subaru's 4-time champion Juha Kankkunen. Also in the point, Bruno Thierry in a privateer Toyota. Day 3 began with a rude awakening, the mammoth stage at Sisteron.
We always look forward to the cars coming out of Sisteron. In past years there's always been something happening in there, and difficult tyre choice, and it's difficult again this year with the patchy ice and whatnot, but Tommy's quite comfortable, so we can make a tyre choice that's safe rather than a high risk.
As predicted, Mäkinen was masterful in Sisteron. Snow, ice and a fin, a potent combination. Still in the running, but not in the frame, Mäkinen's teammate Freddie Loix. His grip on the conditions not as impressive as Mäkinen's. In 6th and showing he deserves a works drive, Bruno Thierry. Tony Gardemeister's prize for a commanding drive was an almost certain 5th. With Burns out, Juha Kankkunen was content with finishing 4th. But on the final stage, Kankkunen was handed a belated Christmas present, Colin McRae's 3rd place. McRae's face said it all. The year 2000 had started as 1999 had finished on a low. All Kankkunen had to do was reach the end, and a podium place was his. The silver lining to Ford's cloud was Carlos Sainz hanging on to 2nd. But it looked like business as usual as the reigning champion Tommi Mäkinen cruised to victory.
Tommy, 2000 Monte Carlo winner?
Yeah, I think so. It's excellent start for the season.
Pour lui, c'est encore quelque chose de fantastique.
Round 2 and the international Swedish rally, normally the coldest, snowiest rally of the year, but not in 2000.
Normally very, very cold, very icy and snowy, but this year there's an awful lot of gravel. It's quite mild, so the conditions are totally different.
Hyundai made their World Championship debut in Sweden with the Accent World Rally car. Team leader is local hero Kenneth Eriksson.
It's been very mild weather in the moment, but I don't think it's so bad as people are speaking about. I think in the moment we have about 90% ice and 10% gravel, although it's missing snowbank, which is a bit bad for all of us, because if you miss a braking point, normally you can lean against the snowbank and push it back on the road.
The small but muscular Hyundai looked good on the slippery forest roads of central Sweden, roads on which Ericsson learned to drive. But joy quickly turned to despair. Ericsson suffered turbo failure early on, leaving Colin McRae's younger brother Alistair to fight Hyundai's corner.
Left on crest, tightens to medium plus and opens long, 100.
With Ericsson gone, local hopes were pinned to Thomas Radström in a private Toyota. Marcus Grönholm showed in Sweden that Peugeot had fixed the problems of Monte Carlo. On day one, he led by 15 seconds from Radström and set fastest time on half of the day's 8 stages north of Karlstad.
For us, it was fantastic. I'm very happy with the car and driving was okay, and yes, very good.
Colin McRae reckoned he would have been leading if a valve on his Ford's turbo had not got stuck. Instead, he was fourth, the fastest of the non-Scandinavians. Tommy Mäkinen survived a scare at the start of stage 5 when he ripped a chunk out of a wheel. Michelin's run-flat Moose system plugged the gaping hole. Only 37 seconds separated the top 6 drivers. Fifth was Richard Burns. The Englishman suffered early in the day with bad tyre choice and therefore a lack of confidence.
Slight left and long crest 60.
Once he changed tyres, Burns was like a new man, but his newfound speed got him into trouble.
We lost about 10 seconds over the last two because we landed badly on a jump early in the stage and damaged something in the rear suspension, so it meant it didn't handle at all and the back end of the car was bouncing around a lot, so we lost a bit of time.
We are very equal at the moment, all of us with speed. It's except Marcus made some incredible times.
The prospect of half a dozen drivers all within half a minute drew fans from across the frozen Lake District of Sweden. None of the major stars had gone out on day one, but early on day two, Tony Gardemeister's hopes of repeating his Monte Carlo magic evaporated. Even with Gardemeister out, there were enough Finns fighting to keep the Scandinavian fans happy. Mäkinen, running on skinny snow tyres, was trying to force his compatriot Grönholm into making a mistake and throw away his first ever World Championship victory. Mäkinen was ice dancing. Colin McRae was still third, 28 seconds behind leader Marcus Grönholm, but only 1 second behind Mäkinen.
Left opens over crest. Into slow 4 right. I think you're going to keep it tidy. Slow 4 right. Into 6 crest.
McRae feared a 10th retirement in succession when his teammate Carlos Sainz was halted with an oil pump failure.
Yeah, unfortunately he had an oil pump drive failure, which meant that he had no oil pressure, and also it's the same shaft that drives the alternator, so the car wasn't charging either. It's unfortunate that it happened on a road section, not even on a competitive section, so no points for Carlos.
Juha Kankkunen was on course for 6th and 1 point. He was only 1 place behind Burns. Both were blighted by a lack of grip. The fiercest battle was for third. Radstrom got ahead of McRae by half a second going into the final 25-kilometre stage, despite a near off.
Long easy right tightens, too easy left over crest 70.
Singing his stage notes in Sweden, Tina Turner.
60 long bad right plus before sign. In junction. Ah. 150, crest in easy left opens and tightens.
Mäkinen knew it was too late to catch Grönholm and settled for second.
Oikee 10, huomio, tosi pitkä vasen nopea plus kirraa.
On the last stage, McRae promptly purged his focus of any unnecessary weight, including a spare tyre and sun visors. It paid off, the Scot leapfrogging back onto the podium and his first finish in 9 rallies. But this was Marcus Grönholm's rally. He led virtually from start to finish, a stylish way to win his first World Championship rally and a stylish way to give Peugeot their first win since 1986.
Time for Mäkinen, 11:27.9.
So the Drivers' Championship, Mäkinen from Grönholm, Sainz, Mäkinen and McRae. From one extreme to another, the ice of Sweden to the heat and dust of Kenya, and the Safari Rally, the toughest rally on the calendar.
You win by having no problems, by not stopping to change punctures, by keeping the car moving. That's how you win. You don't win by being the quickest everywhere.
First in the championship meant being first off the line for Mäkinen. But 2 punctures quickly meant that the Finn and his Mitsubishi were first to retire.
It was just too many punctures. We had to do last 20 kilometers with broken rear wheel, and of course it is too much, too hard. But I think we could still continue to the service. But we had maybe it's something broken battery or something, because engine just suddenly it stopped and we couldn't start it anymore.
To finish the Safari, you have to build your car as much like a tank as a racing machine. Both Seats were charging like rhinos until Tony Gardemeister's door, or lack of one, started causing problems for the Finn.
After 10 kilometers there was quite bad bump, and I think the door lock was broken, and then suddenly the door drops and like this. And then we should drive 100 kilometers without the door, and there was very big dust. I don't see nothing.
The Subarus left everyone eating their dust. Burns leading from Mäkinen.
And easy left. and long easy right. Tightens and opens.
Juha Mäkinen hit a cow but managed to keep his head and second place.
Yeah, just one cow, not one, there were about 10 of them. Just came from the right from the bush and just couldn't go to the left enough, you know, to go around because there were some trees and things, so just hit them.
From the Subaru All-Stars team, Toshi Arai was amongst the big boys. All the top drivers were using spotters in helicopters to warn them of dangers ahead, like potholes or slower cars. The heat got to Gilles Panizzi, who boiled over after another car had held him up.
The driver before is not sport. Why? Because I remote him, and the helicopter, my helicopter, say to him, stop, he don't stop, and me, paf!
Panizzi retired from the rally with a $50,000 fine after taking the law into his own hands. Grönholm retired later with clutch failure. With some stages in Africa as long as a whole rally in Europe, concentration is often a problem. This is Carlos Sainz and Luis Moya.
Cuidado, 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 cuidado. Por puta, avísame. Carlos, si no pude joderlo, pero grítame. Pero si no me dio tiempo a avisarte, me pongo un segundo, coño. Cuando quise avisarte estaba. Pues nada más acabo de calentar el llano. Ahí va.
The conditions were drier, hotter and rougher than in recent years. Those cars on Michelin tyres seemed to fare worse on the razor-sharp rocks than the Subarus and Seats on Pirellis.
Caution into stop crest and dip. Into 6 crest and 6 right over bump, keep out.
Absolute nightmare. Okay, I mean, we drove really sensibly through the first one because we really didn't want to have any more punctures, and we managed to sort of have a puncture-proof run on the last 2. Tyre let go on the road section, but yeah, we've had 4 punctures other than that on the previous 2 sections of the day.
By the end of day 1, Burns had opened a commanding 4-minute lead, but wouldn't allow himself to savour it. In 1999, he was in exactly the same position when a bolt sheared and took him out of the rally.
The fact is that the car is working very well. The tyres are working very well in what are obviously very difficult conditions for them, and I'm just sticking to my own speed, my own driving. I know, been doing the Safari quite a few years now, and I know about the speed that is a good speed to keep the car going, and that's what I need to try and keep up for the next 2 days.
If the punctures weren't bad enough, McRae was getting frustrated, this time by being held up by Didier Auriol.
Listen, just keep your patience. There he is. 76 crests and straight 1 kilometre.
McRae's hard rally eventually ended when he drowned his Ford Focus in a river, dammed deliberately by spectators. Petter Solberg tried to bump start his teammate, but with no joy.
There was a water splash about 2/3 of the way through, and spectators had dammed it, so it was obviously a lot deeper. We knew it was deeper, and we went into it just as cautiously as we could. But unfortunately, when you accelerate through, you've got to sort of find the balance between getting through and getting stuck. The wave of water came over the front, but we had no protection on the air intake, so it just went straight in the air intake and drowned the engine.
Carlos Sainz kept Ford in the points even after his suspension had collapsed earlier in the day. As the rate of attrition mounted, Armin Schwartz and Skoda smelled success. Just past the stricken Ford, this is where Grönholm went out of the rally.
Oikein, niin nousi. Oli sun luukku kiinni? Mä avasin jo. Oli.
On day 2, Subaru looked as indestructible as day 1. Despite temperatures in the cockpit of 50 degrees, Burns kept cool. One minute 44 seconds adrift was Mäkinen. He was 10 minutes ahead of Didier Auriol in the Seat. And behind them, Carlos Sainz in the Ford.
The car has been working very well. No punctures, so quite happy about today. We start 10th, we are 4th, it's good.
It's still a very hard day and very long day, and Carlos Sainz it's less than 5 minutes behind me, and if he push very hard everywhere, it's still possible for him to catch me, you know.
Day 3, and the sun was shining on Burns and what he hoped would be a kick-start to his season. If Burns and Mäkinen looked safe, Auriol was worried about the 2 Fords.
Gauche à fond, bon plus sur rocher. Gauche à fond, sur droite, léger gauche à fond, léger droite à fond, ça va?
He was worried not only of Sainz, but also the Norwegian hotshot Petter Solberg. Solberg's speed was wowing everyone, except his team manager and engineer, who wanted him just to finish, but behind Carlos Sainz.
200.
Phil from Martin. Do you think you're going too fast now or not?
Just forget it, Martin. 6 left, 200.
Heading for 6th, Toshi Arai in the privateer Subaru. But the Subaru of Burns was the star of Africa. This was his 2nd win in Kenya. His first ever World Rally victory came on the Safari in 1998.
It's quite different. This one a lot better prepared, and I was a lot less nervous today than I ever was on the last day 2 years ago.